Hi everyone, I'm Helen from Susan's family. Today, I'll show you the Moonwind top from Shu Tsu Fu series. It includes the left front piece, right front piece, back piece, sleeves, joining, main body edging, cuff edging, ties, and buttons. Here, the left and right are based on the actual left and right when wearing. First, crochet the back piece, the two front pieces, and the sleeves separately. Then join the corresponding areas of each fabric. After completing, crochet around the neckline of the front and back pieces, the button bands, and the hem as the main body edging. Then pick up the cuff to crochet the cuff edging. Finally, make and attach the ties, and install the buttons in the proper positions. The garment comes in two sizes, large and small. The making method is identical, only the stitch count and row count are slightly different. Let's start by making the back piece. It's divided into three areas: the body, the chest piece, and the shoulder parts. Crochet them sequentially from bottom upwards. Start by crocheting the body. Use chains to cast on, then work back and forth in rows, moving upward from the foundation chain. The stitches used include the chain, double crochet, single crochet, DC2 bobble, and cross group. Please watch as I demonstrate the exact crocheting method. To make it clear to see, I'll use cotton yarn for the demonstration. The colors are random. For specific yarn color schemes and hook sizes, please refer to the detail page of our product and the paper instructions. Start with the foundation chain. Hang the yarn on your left hand. Hold the crochet hook in your right hand. Make a slip knot. This knot doesn't count as one stitch. Slightly tighten it. Then, follow the chart for the corresponding chains. Crochet the required chains. After finishing, check the stitch count. Each V-shaped loop represents one stitch. Pay attention that the loop on the hook is not included. This completes the foundation chain. Now begin crocheting the first row. The pattern and stitch methods are the same for both small and large sizes. There's just a slight difference in the beginning and ending. Here, I'll demonstrate and explain using the small size as an example. Everyone can learn the method first. Then refer to the chart for corresponding crochet work. Start with 3 chains as the beginning chain. These 3 chains count as one double crochet. Next, pick the 5th chain position from right to left. Pick up the top strand of the chain. Work 1 double crochet. Then skip 2 chains to the left. Pick up 1 strand of the next chain. Work 1 double crochet. Two chains as an interval. Work a DC2 bobble in the same position. Start with an unclosed double crochet, yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over and pull through. Now there are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and draw through the first 2 loops. There are 2 loops left on the hook. That's an unclosed double crochet. Continue with another unclosed double crochet. Now there are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and draw through all loops in once. That completes the DC2 bobble. Continue crocheting 2 chains as an interval. Then pick the same insertion position. Work 1 double crochet. Here, consider the stitches worked in the same spot as group 1. Skip the next 2 chains. Pick up the following chain and work 1 double crochet. For the foundation chain ahead, always hook into the top strand of the braid. I won't repeat this for the following steps. Chain 1 as an interval. Below, skip 1 chain, crochet 1 double crochet to the left. One chain for the interval. Below, skip 1 stitch, continue with 1 double crochet. These 3 double crochets and the chains in between will be group 2. Skip 2 stitches ahead. Crochet 1 group 1, that is, work 1 double crochet in one position. 2 chains. 1 DC2 bobble. First, work 2 unclosed double crochets. 1. 2. Then yarn over and draw through all loops. Complete the DC2 bobble. Continue with 2 chains. 1 double crochet. Finish group 1. Then skip 2 stitches. Crochet group 2, that is, work 3 double crochets. Separate the double crochets with 1 chain. And after completing the chain, skip 1 stitch below. Complete group 2. Then continue alternating between group 1 and group 2. There are 2 skipped stitches as intervals between the 2 patterns on the row below. You can also refer to the chart for specifics. Continue working downward. Finish this group 1. Skip 2 stitches below. There are still 2 chains remaining. Work double crochets correspondingly. That concludes the explanation of the method for the first row of the small size. For the large size, after completing the beginning chain, you need to work 1 chain as an interval, then skip 1 stitch below. Pick up the 7th chain from right to left and work double crochets correspondingly. Alternate between group 1 and group 2 afterward. There will be 3 remaining chains at the end. Work 1 double crochet correspondingly, 1 chain and 1 double crochet. After completing the chain, skip 1 stitch below. Refer to the chart for specifics. Check the flatness after finishing, then adjust according to the method indicated on the chart. Continue crocheting for row 2. I'll continue demonstrating with the small size as an example. Start with 3 chains as the beginning chain. This also counts as 1 double crochet, then turn your work. The beginning chain corresponds to the double crochet on the edge below. Pick up the stitch from the left side as you move leftward. Here, while crocheting on the wrong side of the previous row, the stitch is located at the upper left corner. Pick up the corresponding stitch and make 1 double crochet. Next, you'll reach the group 1 position. Start with 2 chains as an interval. Then pick up the stitch of the bobble and work 1 single crochet. After that, crochet 2 chains for the interval. The next is the group 2 position. Pick up the first double crochet and make 1 double crochet. Then work 1 cross group. From now on, I will simply call it a cross group. First, pick up the second chain space on the left. Crochet 1 double crochet. Then make 1 chain for the interval. Go back to the front. Pick up the first chain space. Work 1 double crochet. As you crochet, wrap the completed double crochet into this one. This completes the cross group. Continue by picking up the stitch of the double crochet on the left side. Make 1 double crochet. At this point, you finish crocheting the area above group 2. Next, it's time for the area above group 1 again. Correspondingly make 2 chains. Pick up the stitch of the bobble stitch, and work 1 single crochet. 2 chains. Moving downward, you'll encounter group 2. Pick up the first double crochet and work a double crochet. Then work the cross group. First, pick up the second chain space on the left side, and crochet a double crochet. Make 1 chain for the interval. Then pick up the first chain space, and work a double crochet. Weave the completed double crochet into the group. This completes the cross group. Continue picking up the left side double crochet stitches, and working double crochets. From here on, refer to the previous method to continue crocheting. You can also specifically refer to the chart for guidance. After finishing this group 1, move downward and pick up the adjacent double crochet of group 1 to work a double crochet. Later, you'll encounter the turning chain position. Pick up the third chain from the turning chain. That is, the chain next to the double crochet stitch. Pick up the 2 strands of the chain. Work 1 double crochet. At this point, the second row of the small size is completed. In this row, there is 1 chain between the 2 double crochets, at the beginning and end for large size, and you need to skip 1 stitch below the chain, leaving it unworked. When finishing, find the third chain from the turning chain. That is, the second chain position next to the double crochet. Insert the hook and crochet. Next, work the third row. For the large size, refer to the chart for the stitch pattern at the beginning and end. I won't go into details about it anymore. I will still demonstrate the method for the small size. Start with 3 chains as the turning chain. This counts as 1 double crochet. All subsequent turning chains count as 1 double crochet. I won't remind you repeatedly about this going forward. Then turn your work. Pick up the adjacent stitch of the double crochet on the left. Work 1 double crochet. Then crochet 1 group 2. Pick up the adjacent saps on the left. Work 1 double crochet. 1 chain. Then pick up the single crochet stitch. Work 1 double crochet. 1 chain. Pick up the chain space, and work 1 double crochet. Complete group 2. Then work 1 group 1. Here, pick up the chain space in the middle of the cross stitch on the left side. Insert the hook and work 1 double crochet. 2 chains. 1 DC2 bobble. Two chains. 1 double crochet. Complete group 1. Next, just pick up single crochets and the chain spaces between the 2 chains on the left and right. Work group 2 correspondingly. Pick up the chain space of the cross group. Work corresponding group 1. Continue crocheting downward following this method. Finish working this group 2. Pick up the double crochet position and work a double crochet. At the turning chain, pick up the 2 strands of the third chain. Work 1 double crochet. This completes the third row. Continue with the fourth row. The stitch pattern is identical to the second row. Start with 3 chains as the turning chain. Turn the work over. Then pick up the double crochet on the left side, and work a double crochet. At the group 2 position, work corresponding 1 double crochet. Work 1 cross group. Work 1 double crochet. At the group 1 position, work corresponding 2 chains. Work 1 single crochet. Work 2 chains. Then follow the previous rows and the chart for crocheting. Work the last stitch into the top of the turning chain, that is, the 3rd chain. Pick up 2 strands to insert the hook and crochet. Row 4 is now complete. Continue down to row 5. The stitch pattern is identical to row 3. Correspondingly crochet group 1 and 2. Start with 3 chains as the turning chain. Turn the work. Pick up the double crochet position from the left and work a double crochet. Then alternate between group 1 and 2. Finish with the last double crochet stitch. Row 5 is now completed. From here on, repeat the method of rows 2 through 5. Continue crocheting in sequence. You can see that group 1 and 2 are staggered, left and right here. At the same time, refer to the chart and check the dimensions. If the dimensions differ significantly, adjust your tension in time or switch to a different hook size and recrochet. Pay attention that the stitch methods at the beginning and end of the last row are slightly different. However, there are no new stitches required. You can simply refer to the chart for crocheting. If you run out of yarn while crocheting, you can tie a knot and join the yarn. I'll demonstrate with a sample. Use the side with neat textures from the first row as the right side of the entire fabric. Meanwhile, the starting tail of the yarn is on the left side of the fabric. We will tie a knot close to the fabric on the wrong side. Afterwards, leave the yarn tail on the wrong side, for now without dealing with it. Continue crocheting downward. This is the method for tying a knot and joining the yarn. Moving forward, continue to refer to the chart for crocheting. Complete crocheting the body section. Do not cut the yarn after finishing. You will continue crocheting the chest piece area next. Now, let me explain the chest piece area. Starting here, you need to leave some space unworked at both ends. In the following rows, you will need to decrease stitches at the beginning and end. The new stitch method used here for all sizes includes the DC2 tog and DC3 tog. The smaller size also uses the treble crochet and half double crochet. The larger size also uses the DC crossed group and cross DC2 tog group. Both sizes use a new method here. carrying the yarn across. Here, please watch me demonstrate. I will use the smaller size as an example here. First, I will explain the new stitch methods and methods used in both sizes, and then the new stitch specific to the smaller size. Afterward, I will separately explain the remaining new stitch for the larger size. The new stitch methods for both the small and large sizes will be used in other places later on. It's recommended that everyone learns them. First, crochet the first row. You need to carry the yarn across to start. Stretch the loop from the end of the previous row, then bring the yarn or fabric through from the inside. Slightly tighten the yarn, then turn your work. Look at the chart and find the insertion point for the beginning chain on the left. Hook into the bobble stitch. Then pull the yarn through. Hook out. Make a slight adjustment. The yarn you pulled should be level with the fabric's edge. At this point, the carrying yarn method is completed. Now make one chain as your beginning chain. In the same position, work one single crochet. Continue crocheting by referring to the chart. Finish the single crochet above the bobble stitch. Leave the remaining stitches unworked. At this point, row 1 is complete. Now move on to row 2. Start with 2 chains as your beginning chain. Turn your work. Skip the single crochet and adjacent chain to the left. Pick up the stitch of the double crochet and its adjacent stitch on the left. Work a DC2 tog. First, pick up the stitch of the adjacent double crochet. Work 1 unclosed double crochet. Then pick up the next stitch on the left. Work an unclosed double crochet. At this point, there should be 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and draw through all loops once. This completes the DC2 tog. Next, work 1 chain for the interval. Continue following the chart for the pattern. Keep crocheting until you reach the position just before the DC3 tog. Once you've reached the corresponding position, skip down to the space made by 1 chain. Pick up 2 stitches on the left, along with the chain space on the left. Work 3 unclosed double crochets. One, 2, 3. Now there are 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and draw through all loops once. This completes the DC3 tog. That's how you finish the second row. Next, work the third row. Start with 2 chains as the beginning chain. Turn your work. Pick up the left chain space and the adjacent stitch of the double crochet below. Work a DC2 tog. Then continue following the pattern chart for crocheting. When you reach the end where you need to do a DC3 tog, pick up the adjacent stitch of the double crochet. chain space of 1 chain, and the stitch from the decrease in the previous row, work the unclosed double crochet stitches respectively. Finally, yarn over and draw through all loops once. Complete the DC3 tog. Do not work at the next turning chain position. That's how you finish the third row. For rows 4 to 6, decreases are still needed at the beginning and ending. Just crochet correspondingly following the previous method. Work the corresponding pattern in the middle. Everyone can simply refer to the chart to finish these rows. After completion, start crocheting row 7. Chain 4 as the beginning chain. Turn your work. Pick up the bobble stitch from the left. Make 1 single crochet. Continue crocheting by referring to the chart. At the ending, you need to crochet a treble crochet hook into the edge double crochet of the previous row. Yarn over twice with the crochet hook. Insert the hook. Yarn over and draw through. There are 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over and draw through the first 2 loops. You have 3 loops remaining. Yarn over and draw through the next 2 loops again. Now you have 2 loops left. Finally, yarn over and draw through all remaining loops in once. The treble crochet is done. Row 7 is also completed at the same time. For the following rows, you will need to decrease at the beginning and end of each row. After that, continue crocheting evenly for the remaining rows. The stitch method for the first and last stitches in the final row is slightly different. From here on, you can directly refer to the pattern chart for guidance. Keep crocheting until just before the last row. Here, I'll demonstrate the method for the last row using a sample. Continuing with the previous yarn tail, start with 1 chain as your beginning chain. Turn your work. Pick up the corresponding stitches from below as you proceed. Work 2 single crochets evenly. Make 1 single crochet into the chain space. Then work 1 chain for spacing. Pick up the next chain space to the left, and make 1/2 double crochet. Work 1 double crochet into the adjacent stitch. Continue following the chart for the remaining part. The final single crochet should be worked into the top of the beginning chain. That concludes the method for the last row. At the same time, the explanation for the small size front piece is now complete. Next, I will explain the new stitches for the large size front piece. Here, I'm demonstrating with a sample. Let me first explain the DC crossed group. There are 2 stitch orders. The method is the same for both. Let me explain the first order first. Here, pick up the second chain space to the left first. Work 1/2 double crochet. Then make 1 chain. Next, pick up at the first space on the left side. Work 1 double crochet. This completes the DC crossed group. This is the first order. Now let me explain the second order. First, pick up the second space on the left and work 1 double crochet. 1 chain. Then pick up the first space, and work 1/2 double crochet. This completes the DCH-DC crossed group. This is the second order. When you're crocheting, refer to the chart. Next, I'll explain the cross DC2 tog group. First, pick up the second space on the left and work 1 double crochet. 1 chain. Then pick up the first space and the stitch from the edge. Work a DC2 tog. Pick up the space and work an unclosed double crochet. Here you'll wrap the completed double crochet inside. Then pick up another stitch and work another unclosed double crochet. Finally, yarn over and draw through all loops on the hook once. That completes the cross DC2 tog group. At this point, the new stitch methods for both sizes in the chest piece area have been explained. That concludes the chest part. Next, we'll move on to the shoulder parts. Here, the shoulder parts are divided into left and right sides and crocheted separately. First, continue with the previous yarn to crochet the right shoulder part. After completing it, rejoin the yarn to crochet the left shoulder part. Both sizes use a new stitch method, slip stitch. Here, the larger size also uses another new stitch method, the peak stitch. Please watch as I demonstrate. Let's start by crocheting the right shoulder part. I'll continue demonstrating with a sample. At the same time, I'll use the stitch pattern for the smaller size as an example. First, carry the yarn across. Then make 1 chain as your beginning chain. Correspondingly work 1 single crochet. Afterward, follow the chart to the left and crochet accordingly. Complete the last single crochet from the chart. The first row is now complete. Leave the remaining stitches unworked. Continue crocheting on to the second row. The crochet position starts here, which is closer to the yarn tail. We can also use the method of crocheting slip stitches to carry the yarn along. Let me demonstrate. First, crochet 1 chain. Turn your work. Then pick up the stitches or spaces from the previous row in sequence. Work slip stitches correspondingly. When you reach the position corresponding to the beginning chain of this row, start with 2 chains as your beginning chain. Then work the cross group. Work 1 double crochet in the adjacent position. Continue to follow the chart for the rest of the section. At the end, work one slip stitch. Here, pick up the position of the first adjacent stitch on the left side, insert and crochet into the picked up stitch. Leave the remaining stitches unworked. Row 2 is completed. In the following rows 3 to 4, there are no new stitch methods appearing. Just follow the pattern chart directly for crocheting. After completion, proceed to break the yarn. First, secure with one chain. Leave a little yarn tail. Break the yarn. Pull tight. Weave in the yarn tail on the wrong side of the fabric. You can weave in a few more stitches if you like. The rest of the yarn tails can be hidden using the same method. This concludes the explanation for crocheting the right shoulder part. Next, we will explain the left shoulder part. I'll continue demonstrating with this sample. Place the right shoulder part's first row right side facing you. That is, the side with the neat stitch texture. Then refer to the chart and move left. Locate the insertion position for the first single crochet stitch. Hook into the corresponding stitch. Pick up the yarn. Make a slip knot with the yarn. Pull through. Adjust slightly. Then, make one chain as your beginning chain. Correspondingly make one single crochet. After that, for the remaining part of the small size, just crochet according to the chart. For the large size, the last row requires crocheting a peak stitch. Below, I'll demonstrate the method. Here, I'll use this sample for demonstration. First, go left and insert into the chain space to hook an unclosed half double crochet. Yarn over, insert, yarn over and pull through. This is an unclosed half double crochet. Then, go left and pick up the stitch. Work an unclosed double crochet. At this point, there are 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over and draw through in once. Complete the peak stitch. After finishing the left shoulder part, fasten off the yarn and weave in the tail. Everyone can finish it on your own. That's how we finish the shoulder part section. Up to this point, that concludes the explanation of the entire back piece. Next, we'll work on the left front piece. The pattern here is identical to that of the back piece. It's just that the shape of the piece is slightly different. Similarly, this piece is divided into the body, the chest piece, and the shoulder part 3 sections. Crochet upwards in sequence. Start with the body. Here, you need to start crocheting the edges and extend them on both sides. Then, crochet one side without increasing or decreasing stitches. The other side continues to extend outward. In the final rows, you'll decrease stitches on one side. The side that was previously worked even continues to be crocheted upwards evenly. For the decreases, some involve skipping stitches, and some are clusters. For the increases, we use a new stitch method, DC2-in-1. Please watch me demonstrate. Both small and large sizes use the same stitches and crocheting sequence. The order of the stitches is slightly different. Here, I'll demonstrate and explain using the small size as an example. For the large size, you can learn the method first, then follow the chart to crochet later. Start with 19 chains. After completing them, make one chain to begin. Pick up the second chain from the right to left below. Pick up one strand on the top of the chain. Work one slip stitch. Then continue picking up one strand on the top of the chain. Work 9 slip stitches correspondingly. After completing, check the stitch count. Here, when counting the stitches, you can count the braids on the upper right. One braid represents one stitch. Plus the first stitch, there are a total of 10 slip stitches worked here. Crochet 3 chains as an interval next. Below, skip 3 chains to the left. Pick up and work 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Work 1 chain as an interval. Skip 1 stitch below. Pick up and work 1 half double crochet in the next stitch. Then skip 2 chains. When you reach the last chain position, correspondingly work 1 group 1. After completing, the first row is done. Move on to the second row, start with 3 chains as the beginning chain. Then crochet 2 chains as an interval. Turn your work. On the left side, pick up the bobble stitch and work a single crochet. Work 2 chains as an interval. Pick up the adjacent half double crochet, and work 1 double crochet in that stitch. Then pick up the 2 chain spaces on the left side, and correspondingly work cross groups. After completing, continue by picking up the second chain space, and work 2 double crochets. Work 1 chain as an interval. Below and to the left, skip 1 stitch. This is a slip stitch. Skip 1 chain. Pick up 1 braid formed by the slip stitch. Work 1 double crochet. Work 1 chain as an interval. Below, skip 1 slip stitch. Pick up 1 braid formed by the slip stitch. Work 1 half double crochet. Continue picking up slip stitch braid at adjacent position. Work 1 half double crochet. Then pick up the braid to the left and work 1 single crochet. Work 1 chain as an interval. Skip 1 stitch. Pick up the braid of 1 stitch and work 1 single crochet. Work 1 chain as an interval. Skip 1 stitch. Pick up the braid of 1 stitch and work 1 slip stitch. Then continue with the extension. Directly crochet 19 chains. After completing, the second row is done. Continue with the third row, start with 1 chain. Then turn the work. Pick up the braid of the chain below. Pick the second strand from the top of the chain going from right to left. You can also pick the top strand, on the back of the chain. Work 1 slip stitch. Then continue picking 1 strand of the chain. Work 11 slip stitches correspondingly. After completing, pick 1 strand of the chain. Work 1 single crochet. Make 2 chains for interval. Below, skip 2 stitches. Pick 1 strand of the chain. Work 1 half double crochet. Make 1 chain for interval. Skip 1 stitch. Work 1 double crochet. Make 1 chain for interval. Skip 1 stitch. Go down to the slip stitch position. Here, pick the braid of the slip stitch, and work 1 double crochet. Later, pick from the position of the previous row. Pick either the stitch or the space. Refer to the chart and crochet the corresponding stitch. Finish crocheting the last group 2. Continue downward and crochet 1 chain. Then, pick the top of the beginning chain at the edge. Work 1 double crochet. If you can't find the right position, you can also directly crochet into the chain space. This completes the third row. Now, move on to the fourth row. Start with 3 chains as the turning chain. Turn your work. Pick up the stitch from the edge below. Work a DC 2 in 1, that means work 2 double crochets in one spot. 1 stitch. 2 stitches. This completes the DC 2 in 1. Then, continue referring to the chart. Pick the corresponding stitches and chain spaces to crochet. When crocheting on a slip stitch, simply pick its braid for inserting the hook. Continue crocheting downward. When crocheting, cross group on a slip stitch. Likewise, pick the corresponding braid, and insert the hook to crochet. Continue crocheting downward. After finishing the last slip stitch, continue extending downward. Crochet 21 chains. Once completed, the fourth row is done. For the remaining rows, simply follow the chart to crochet. During the subsequent crocheting process, if you need to skip stitches in the decrease areas, at the beginning of the next row, you can decide based on the actual situation, whether to carry the yarn or use a slip stitch method. Use the carrying yarn method when the distance is far. If the distance is close, you can crochet a slip stitch to carry the yarn. At the same time, pay attention to checking the number of stitches and groups while crocheting. That concludes the explanation for the body section. Next, we will continue with the chest piece. On the side that was previously crocheted evenly without increasing or decreasing, you need to skip a portion at the beginning. In some rows afterward, you'll need to decrease stitches. The other side continues the shape of the body. Proceed upward with the decreases. There are no new stitches or methods introduced. Everyone can complete it on your own. After completion, crochet the shoulder parts. There is only one shoulder part here. Simply crochet upwards from the chest piece's yarn tail. One side is crocheted evenly. The other side requires skipping stitches at the start. Then proceed with decreasing stitches. Once all crocheting is finished, fasten off the yarn and weave in the ends. Everyone can directly refer to the chart for crocheting. That's all for the explanation of the left front piece. Next, let's talk about the right front piece. It also consists of three areas: the body, the chest piece, and the shoulder parts. Crochet from bottom to top. Two new stitch methods are used here. SC2-in-1 and DCT-R-TOG. Both small and large sizes use these two new stitch methods. The only difference is their positions. I will still demonstrate using the small size as an example. The large size can learn the method first, then crochet by referring to the pattern later. Let's start with the body. On one side, you need to crochet while increasing stitches. The other side is crocheted evenly. Start with the foundation chain. Crochet the corresponding number of chains by referring to the chart. After completing, make 2 chains to begin. Then crochet 4 chains as the interval. Next, pick up the 11th chain position from right to left. Pick up 1 strand of the corresponding chain. Work 1 single crochet. Then crochet 5 chains as an interval. Below, skip 3 stitches. Work 1 single crochet. Then crochet 3 chains as an interval. Below, skip 1 stitch. Work 1 single crochet. Continue crocheting by referring to the chart. Pay attention to this last part here. Below, skip 4 stitches. Reach the last chain position. Correspondingly make 1 single crochet. At this point, the first row is completed. Continue with the second row. Start with 3 chains as the beginning chain, then crochet 2 chains as an interval. Turn the work over. Pick up the chain space from left. Make 1 single crochet. Then pick up the single crochet stitch from the left. Crochet 1 double crochet. Chain 3. Crochet another double crochet in the same position. Continue to pick adjacent chain spaces and crochet single crochets. Refer to the chart for subsequent crocheting. Finish with the last single crochet in the space. Continue downward with 2 chains. Then pick up from the turning chain of the previous row, that is, the 6th chain position from the bottom, counting upwards at this moment. Pick up the 2 strands of the corresponding chain. Insert the hook and crochet a double crochet. If you can't find the exact position, you can also crochet directly in this space. This completes the second row. Move on to the third row. Start with 1 chain as the beginning chain. This is the turning chain for single crochet. It doesn't count as 1 stitch. Then turn your work. Pick the stitch of the edge, double crochet below. Work 1 single crochet. Then crochet 5 chains as a bridge. Next, pick the chain space between the double crochets on the left side. Work 1 single crochet. Chain 3. Work another 1 single crochet in the same position. Continue crocheting according to the chart for the remaining part. The last single crochet should be worked into the beginning chain from the previous row, that is, the 3rd chain counting upwards from the bottom. Pick up 2 strands to work. Alternatively, you can directly crochet into this space. The 3rd row is now complete. At this point, check if the fabric lays flat. If it doesn't lay perfectly flat, stretch it out. If it still doesn't lay flat, start over with the beginning chain. Make sure to crochet the foundation chains a bit looser. For the following 4th to 10th rows, simply follow the chart to crochet. When working on the edge with a turning chain, Always hook into the top chain of the turning chain. You can also crochet in the gap between the turning chain and the next stitch, or into the edge space. When encountering an edge with the beginning chain of the single crochet, pick up the edge stitch from the previous row's edge stitch. Everyone finish these rows. After completion, start crocheting the 11th row. Begin with 1 chain as your foundation chain. Turn your work. Pick up the edge stitches as you go down. Work a SC2 in 1. That is, make 2 single crochets in the same position. 1 stitch. 2 stitches. Complete the SC2 in 1. Continue following the chart for the rest. Finish the last stitch. That concludes the explanation for row 11. Continue crocheting the body section by following the chart. This concludes the explanation of the body area. Next, we will discuss the chest piece section. Here, you need to start carrying the yarn across one side. Leave some positions unworked. On the side where the body increases, continue increasing stitches. On the side with skipped stitches, you will need to decrease in the lower rows. For the rest, crochet evenly. Please watch as I demonstrate. I will use this sample for the demonstration. First, follow the chart to finish the first row. I have already completed it here. Continue with the second row. Crochet according to the pattern until just before the DCT tog at the end. When you reach the corresponding position, pick up the adjacent single crochet stitch below. Work an unclosed double crochet. Then, hook into the top of the beginning chain on the left side, or directly pick up the chain space. Work an unclosed treble crochet. Yarn over twice. Hook into the corresponding position. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over again, and draw through the first 2 loops on the hook. Repeat this 2 times. 1 time. 2 times. This is an unclosed treble crochet. Now there are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and draw through all loops. Complete the DCT tog. This also finishes the second row. For the remaining part, there are no new stitches or methods appearing. You can directly follow the chart for crocheting. After finishing, crochet the shoulder parts area. On one side of the neckline, you need to skip stitches and decrease. That is, the side where you previously increased stitches. The other side should be crocheted evenly. In the last few rows, you need to skip stitches and decrease to form the sloping shoulder. After completing all the crocheting, fasten off the yarn and weave in the ends. You can finish it on your own. This concludes the explanation of the shoulder parts area. With that, the crocheting of the right front piece has been fully explained. Next, we will discuss the sleeves. There are 2 of them. The crochet method is the same for both. Start with the foundation chain, then work back and forth along the foundation chain. While crocheting, you need to decrease stitches at both ends. There are no new stitches or methods introduced. You can simply refer to the chart for crocheting. After completion, fasten off and weave in the ends. That concludes the explanation of the sleeve section. Next, we will move on to joining the fabrics. First, join the shoulders and body sections of the front and back pieces. Then attach the sleeves separately. The joining and attachment methods are the same here. I will first explain how to join the shoulders. Here, I will demonstrate using a sample. Pick up a front piece. Align it with the shoulder of the back piece. The angled side should correspond here. Both fabrics should have the right side facing out. The beginning yarn tail is on the left side of the fabric, which is the right side. If the yarn tail for the foundation chain is already hidden inside the fabric, you can look for the first row. The side with neat stitch texture is the right side. Fold the two pieces so that the wrong sides are together. Then, from the edge of the front fabric, pick up the edge stitches. Insert the hook to join the yarn. Make one chain as your beginning chain. Next, pick up the edge of the back fabric. Pick up the first stitch on the edge here. Find the corresponding position on the right side of the piece. Insert the hook and work one slip stitch. If the slip stitch is too loose, you can tighten it slightly. Then continue with one chain as the interval. Move left to a position about one chain away. You can use the previous slip stitch as the centered point. Find an approximate corresponding position next to it, and insert the hook. Pick up the stitch or space and work a slip stitch. When you encounter the yarn tail for carrying the yarn, place it on top and weave it in as you crochet. After completing, make one chain. Then, pick an approximate corresponding position on the back piece and insert the hook. Work one slip stitch. After completing, crochet one chain. Then pick up the edges of the front and back pieces respectively. Pick up the stitches or chain spaces. Insert the hook and work a slip stitch to join. There should be one chain interval between slip stitches. The joining positions on both sides should roughly correspond. The curve of the fabric edges should match. Continue joining downward. After finishing one side of the edge, continue with one chain, pick up the other side's edge, and crochet a slip stitch to secure. Then fasten off the yarn. Weave in the yarn tail on the wrong side of the fabric. Everyone can finish this part on your own. This completes the joining of one shoulder. Use the same method for the other shoulder. Everyone can finish this part on your own. Next, I will explain how to join the body parts of the front and back pieces. Here, we also use slip stitches and chains to join. Work on the right side of the piece, along the edges of the first row and the last row of the body piece. Work and join simultaneously. Note that all slip stitches should be inserted from the right side of the fabric. At the same time, the joining positions on both sides should roughly correspond. After joining, the piece should lay flat. During this process, you can select a few points. Use stitch markers to roughly secure them. If you don't have stitch markers, you can use safety pins or paper clips as substitutes. Then, join roughly evenly within the marked areas. Everyone can finish this part on your own. Next, I'll explain how to attach the sleeves. Start by securing the fabric first. I'll explain using a finished product as an example. Place the first row of the sleeve with the right side facing out. Then fold the fabric in half. Find the midpoint of the last row at the top. Match it with the shoulder joining point. Then secure it in place. After that, align both sides following the curve. Here, the edge of the first row corresponds to the chest area of the front and back pieces. For the small size, the left sleeve corresponds to the edge of the 7th row of the chest area on the left front piece and back piece. Then secure it in place. The position of the right sleeve relative to the back piece is the same as before. At the right front piece, it matches up with the 8th row of the chest area. Here you can count the chain spaces alternately between left and right. Then secure it. For the large size, the left sleeve corresponds to the 9th row of the chest area on the left front piece and back piece. The position of the right sleeve relative to the back piece is the same as before. It corresponds to the 12th row of the chest area on the right front piece. Here, secure the beginning and ending of the first row of the sleeve as well as the center of the last row. Check if the curve of the fabric's edge matches. If one side of the fabric is too long or too short, you can adjust the fixed positions of both ends of the first row according to the actual situation. As long as the curves match, it's fine. The fixing points on both sides must be symmetrical. Then you can fix a few more points in between. Afterwards, join them with slip stitches and chains. Connect from one end to the other. The positions should be roughly even. Hook into the stitches or spaces on both sides of the fabrics. Everyone can finish this part on your own. That concludes the explanation of sleeve attachment. Next, I'll explain how to crochet the edging for the main body. It consists of 3 parts. First, around the neckline of the front and back pieces. Then the front band. And finally the hems of the front and back pieces. Crochet in rounds for section 1. Next, around the neckline area of the front and back pieces, pick up stitches above section 1, and work back and forth for section 2. After completing it, continue along the first 2 parts, and crochet in rounds for section 3. During this process, you'll need to make buttonholes. Let's start with section 1. Here, I'm demonstrating with a sample. Find the area below the left front neckline. Which is the last row of the chest piece. Pick up the gap between one edge stitch. Insert the hook and join the yarn. Make one beginning chain to start. Work 2 single crochets in the same position. Pay attention to weaving in the ends as you crochet the edging. Continue picking up the edge spaces of each row and working single crochets. Here, you'll work about 2 single crochets for every edge row. You can also refer to the chart for specifics. Note that the stitch count in the pattern chart is for reference only. After crocheting a certain distance, check if the fabric lays flat. If it's not quite flat, you can adjust by adding or decreasing a few stitches according to the actual situation. When you encounter the stitches, crochet the corresponding stitches. Continue crocheting using this method. Later, when you reach the side with increases, you'll still pick up the edges of each row. Refer to the chart for the marked method or pattern to crochet. During this time, observe the flatness of the fabric as you crochet. Then continue crocheting down to the foundation chain side and the extended side. Here, you can pick up the remaining half of the chain. The insertion point for picking up stitches, or the space formed by the chain. Work the corresponding number of single crochets into it. The chart has the stitch count marked here. You can roughly divide the total number of stitches into several even parts. Then simply crochet the corresponding number of stitches in each part. Skip the joining point without crocheting. After that, reach the foundation chain of the back piece. Use the same method. Pick up the remaining half of the stitch, or insert your hook into the chain space. Work single crochets according to a specific pattern or stitch count. Continue crocheting down to the foundation chain of the left front piece. Refer to the chart while crocheting. On the side where you need to increase stitches, follow the corresponding stitch count or pattern for crocheting. Keep crocheting all the way to the neckline position. Then continue crocheting according to the stitch count. Pay attention. At the corner position, make 1 chain for transition. Meanwhile, do not adjust the stitch count in the collar area arbitrarily. To avoid affecting the stitch pattern of section 2. Moving forward, everyone refer to the chart. Keep crocheting all the way to the end position of the neckline on the left front piece. After completing the neckline area of the left front piece, at the corner position, continue with 1 chain for transition. Then pick up the first single crochet stitch. Crochet a slip stitch to join. Here, the vertical small braid is the beginning chain. Pick up the horizontal braid to insert the hook. Here, the slip stitch joining the beginning and ending needs to be tightened. That concludes the explanation of section 1. Moving on to section 2. Start by hooking into the single crochet stitch on the right side of the transition chain. First, turn your work. Then pick up the chain space on the left. Work 1 slip stitch to carry the yarn along. Pick up the left stitch and work another slip stitch. Now the yarn has been carried over. You can either carry the yarn or join a new yarn. Then make 3 chains to start. Then pick up the stitches from the left. Continue crocheting by following the chart. Pay attention as some positions require skipped stitches. The stitch count differs between sizes. Refer specifically to your respective charts. I'll demonstrate using the small size as an example. After completing the last stitch, take a look at what comes next. Later, you'll reach the chain position at the corner. At this point, the first row is completed. Continue with the second row. Start with 2 chains as the beginning chain. Turn your work over. Pick up the second stitch from the left. Work 1 double crochet. Continue crocheting 2 double crochets in each corresponding stitch for the adjacent ones. Later, you'll need to crochet cross groups. Here, pick up the stitch to crochet. First, pick the third stitch on the left side. Make 1 double crochet. Then crochet 1 chain. Pick up the first stitch on the left side. Crochet 1 double crochet. Complete the cross group. When crocheting cross groups in the following stitches, you can follow this method. The remaining part does not introduce any new stitches or methods. Everyone can directly refer to the chart to finish the rest of the crocheting. Pay attention, there are skipped stitches in some positions in the last row. Make sure not to crochet them wrong. Don't cut the yarn after finishing here. Continue with section 3 next. This concludes the explanation of section 2. Now let's move on to section 3. Use the same thread as before. Start with 1 chain. Turn your work. Pick up stitches from left to right and work single crochets correspondingly. Keep going until you finish section 2. At the position of the last edge stitch, work until you reach the corresponding position. Pick up and crochet along the side edges of each row from section 2. Work into the gaps along the edge. Refer to the chart and work the corresponding single crochets. Continue until you finish the edge of the first row. After completing, pick up the adjacent corner chain space below. On the left side of the beginning chain from section 2, hook into the gap between 2 stitches. Make 1 single crochet. Then, you need to make 11 chains. Then pick up the single crochet stitch below. Work with the first strand in front and the left strand. Make 1 slip stitch. The slip stitch here doesn't need to be tightened. This completes 1 buttonhole. Continue picking up and crocheting single crochets from section 1. Here, you need to make 2 more buttonholes down on the left front piece. Let's mark the positions first. You can refer to the chart for these positions. If the stitch count was adjusted earlier, you can remark the positions. Here, I'll explain using the finished product. The position of the buttonholes after adjusting the stitch count. Align the beginning and ending of section 2 at the top. Then cross the 2 front pieces. Here, the left front piece is on top. Then follow the curve. Find the edge of the protruding part of the left front piece. And match it with the body edge of the right front piece. Then, between the first buttonhole and the edge of the protrusion, evenly find 2 points. Mark the corresponding single crochets. You can also try it on, and based on your wearing habits, mark the proper positions. The marked positions will need buttonholes made. I'll demonstrate the crochet of the buttonhole again below. I'll continue demonstrating with the sample. Crochet first to the next buttonhole position. Pay attention, here, after finishing the corners chain, pick up the first single crochet of section 1 and continue crocheting. Crochet until you reach the corresponding position, then make the buttonhole. The placement on my sample is random. When you're actually crocheting, reach the marked single crochet position. After picking up the marked single crochet and making 1 single crochet, continue crocheting 11 chains. Then pick up the front strand of the single crochet stitch, and 1 strand from the left side, and make a slip stitch. Another buttonhole is now complete. Continue crocheting the remaining single crochets and buttonholes correspondingly. You'll need to make 1 more buttonhole here. After that, crochet the rest of the section evenly with single crochets. Keep crocheting until you reach the chain before the corner of the right front piece. When you reach the corresponding position, pick up the space underneath the chain and make 1 single crochet. Then pick up the edges of each row from section 2 and crochet single crochets accordingly. After finishing the last stitch, pick up the stitch of the first single crochet and join with a slip stitch. There's no need to tighten here. Start decreasing stitches. First, stretch the loop larger. Leave a little yarn tail. Break the yarn. Then count 2 stitches to the left from the slip stitch position. Insert the hook from behind the corresponding stitch. Hook out the reserved yarn. Then insert again from behind into the center of the slip stitch chain. Draw the yarn through. Make a small adjustment. Then on the wrong side, secure with 1 chain. It's like making a knot. Weave in the remaining yarn tail behind the fabric. You can finish this step by yourself. That concludes section 3. And that also completes the edging of the main body. Next, we'll move on to crocheting the cuffs edging. Crochet in rounds along the arm space edge. Join the yarn at the centered position where the 2 body pieces are joined. Then refer to the chart and work the corresponding single crochets. Here, when you encounter a stitch, pick up that stitch. When you reach a chain position, pick up the corresponding space. For each row's edge, pick up stitches in the edge gaps or spaces. On the first row of the sleeve, insert your hook into the corresponding space. Crochet the corresponding number of single crochets. If you previously adjusted the securing position for the sleeve attachment, Crochet the corresponding number of stitches based on the situation. As long as the fabric lays flat after completing the stitches, it's fine. If it's not quite flat, you can adjust the stitch count according to the actual situation. At the end, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch, and make sure to pull tight. For the second round, pick up stitches from the first round, and work single crochets evenly. At the end, slip stitch to the first stitch, and fasten off at the same time. Everyone can directly refer to the chart, and complete it. At this point, the cuffs edging explanation is finished. Next, I'll explain how to make the ties. There are 2 of them, and the making method is the same for both. First, crochet the rope, then attach a purl button on one end. The other end should be attached to the corresponding position on the front piece. Here, the rope is crocheted using the double chain rope method. Refer to the chart to crochet it to the corresponding length. Leave the yarn tail a little longer at the end, and keep it. Below, I'll demonstrate the method of double chain rope. Everyone, let's start learning. Please watch the demonstration. Now I will demonstrate the method of crocheting chains with hanging yarn. Leave a yarn tail about 3 times the length of the required yarn at the front. Hold the yarn with the left hand. The leftover yarn tail should be below. Start by making a knot first. Then hang the reserved yarn from front to back over the crochet hook. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through the loop and the hanging yarn. The first stitch is complete. Hang the yarn tail from below, from front to back, on the crochet hook. Continue crocheting. Yarn over. Pull the yarn through. Repeat the process of hanging and crocheting. Once you reach the desired length, leave a yarn tail, break the yarn. If sewing is needed, leave the yarn tail a bit longer. That concludes the demonstration of crocheting the rope. Next, we'll attach the purl button. Here, I'm demonstrating with a sample. Take a piece of crocheted yarn. Then thread it through the sewing needle. Note that the needle should be able to pass through the purl button space. Then pick up the end of the rope without the yarn tail. Sew the edge securely. There's no specific requirement for the method, as long as it looks nice. You can sew a few more stitches if you want. Tie the yarn tail in place to secure it. Weave in the remaining yarn tail inside the fabric. Just follow this method to weave in it. Complete the rest on your own. That's how you attach the purl button. Then attach the other end of the rope to the left front piece. Right here at the raised edge. Use the reserved yarn from the rope. Pick the edge and tie a knot to secure it. Then weave in the yarn tail inside the fabric or within the rope. You can finish the rest by yourself. That concludes the explanation for one tie. Follow the same method for the other tie. Crochet the rope and attach the purl button. Then install it onto the right front piece. Match it with the raised part of the left front piece. Place it in the same way as when you made the buttonholes. Alternatively, place it according to your own wearing habits. Attach it to the proper position. You can finish this on your own. This concludes the explanation of the tie section. Finally, attach the buttons. Align the positions of the two ties. Then, on the right front piece, at the position corresponding to the buttonholes on the left front piece, sew the buttons. There's no specific requirement for the method, just make sure it's secure and looks nice. You can finish this on your own. When wearing it finally, tie the straps according to your preference. You can finish this on your own. Up to this point, the entire process of making the garment has been fully explained. If you have any unclear parts during the crocheting process, don't hesitate to join our Facebook group to get supports. Susan's family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next episode.